I'm a big boy now. 35. A job, a car, a closet full of ties. Growing up means rejecting the ghastly trappings of youth for the respectable dignity of a trim suit, a fistful of documents, and a meeting that's been pushed to 12. Adulthood is everything I dreamed it would be. Stimulating, powerful, ample with life. Yet, in night's deepest hour, before I succumb to sleep's swarthy provocation, I sometimes wonder, did something get lost along the way? All the time I've spent working on my Zine a month project for the last few years has taught me one simple truth. It's important to play with the photos you make. I don't mean playing games or anything like that. What I mean is getting your photos out into the real world as physical objects so that you can handle them and touch them and move them around, and so that you can begin to experience them in a very different way than when they're on screen. For the longest time, I really struggled turning my archive of photos into physical, tangible products. I think I would just get a little bit too overwhelmed trying to interact with them all on my computer. The screen's limited space and the awkwardness of trying to arrange everything with a mouse just made the whole experience kind of unenjoyable. Once I started printing, it just became immediately that much easier to get a broad sense of just what images I had and what I could do with them. I know it feels like you should have a librarian's knowledge of your own work. But when you've worked on something for a couple of years, it can be pretty easy to lose track. I started really looking forward to when I got to print, and looking back now, I realize it's because for me, the whole process, it just shared three of the big characteristics of play. For instance, making a print is kind of like getting a roll of film back from the lab. You get this excited feeling of seeing just how your image turned out. And then once you started to collect a bunch of them and start stacking them together, it begins to feel like you're building a deck of cards that is just getting stronger and more powerful with each new print. And to put it as simply as I can, they're just fun to hold and to move around and to shuffle. There's something about touching and arranging photos that can really stoke your creative fire. You'll find relationships begin to surface between your images in ways that you've just never noticed before, and you might even come up with entirely new ways to show your work. Playing with photos basically breaks the habits that you formed in how you think about them. And breaking these habits basically leads to a fresh surge of creativity. My project Serial Music probably would never have happened if I hadn't been making all of these small prints. But I definitely had to overcome the hesitance I felt about sinking a bunch of money into making hundreds of prints, especially when I knew there would be no direct financial return on the process. The thing with play is that it's something you do despite the fact that it probably won't make you any money. You do it for the experience, not for the financial kickback. Once I got into the habit of printing my photos and seeing in this stack of prints the potential for a fully realized project, I began to develop a sense of confidence in myself, in the images, and in the time I've spent focusing on my own photography. This has been super valuable in its own right. Okay, now that I've spent some time talking up the value of playing with your photos, here are a few ways that I got started with it. My wife and I found this giant mirror abandoned on the street one day. Koreans have this thing about mirrors and ghosts, but we don't, so we jacked it. Once it was back in the studio, it became my de facto canvas. A place for me to stick up all the photos that I'd been printing in a way that I thought looked good. I'm pretty sure this was the first place that I started to notice that some of the images worked well as pairs, and the seed for serial music, a project all about making image pairs, was planted. The second way that I played with photos was in the pairing process. There are any number of ways to make a pair of images, and I'm going to make an entire video just about this subject. But in brief, I tried a maximal approach, a minimal approach, and a subtractive approach. Each method of pairing photos helped me to handle the prints in slightly different ways, and this got me to think about the images in different ways too. Having a diverse approach to how I made image pairs just led to a more diverse result that helped me keep the project from feeling too repetitive. You might have been thinking it by now, but play is the most fun when you do it together. I had the most fun and certainly learned the most about my project when a friend would visit and we would sit down and have a look at the images together, making pairs and discussing the project. Photo projects can be personal and also kind of insular. Liberating the images from the screen also liberated them from me in some ways, to be engaged with by my friends and the people close to me. What I think is so special about this middle part of the project, once you have photos, but they're not yet arranged into a final form, and this is going to sound silly, but I mean it, it's this time spent physically handling it that allows you to fully bond with your project. It's how you truly get to know it. Serial Music Volume 4 is out now. Thank you to everyone who's been picking up zines and following along for these videos. And if you have any suggestions for how you like to play with photos, please drop a comment below. Cheers.